Hello, citizens of Gotham. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching POW, the Political Vigilante. It's MLK Day, and people like to kind of take things MLK has said and manipulate it into their own cause or whatever. And I've seen some, Israelis or pro-Israeli people saying, Dr. King would support us. And it's like, they'll take a quote that he said about Israel has the right to defend itself, but then he goes on to say other things. And there's no way, shape, or form Dr. King would be supporting Israel's 100 days of bombing and killing all these people and children. There's no way he would support that. So I just find that hard to believe. But let's go right to the source. This is an article that's in Mother Jones, and we're going to see a tweet from it. You don't have to guess what MLK thought about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. There's a long tradition of claiming to speak for King. Here's what he really said. King's statement that Israel is a beacon of democracy, which he repeated several times, including during a 1968 speech at the Rabbinical Assembly, 10 days before he was assassinated, have been prominently discussed in the aftermath of Hamas attacks on October 7th. Last week, actor Amy Schumer, this is from a couple months ago, shared King's 1967 rendition of the statement in her X account. The whole world must see that Israel must exist and has a right to exist, and is one of the great outposts of democracy in the world. And King's daughter, Bernice, who tweeted right at Amy Schumer while her father was already against anti-Semitism, I am certain he would call for Israel's bombing of Palestinians to cease, for hostages to be released, and for us to work for true peace, which includes justice. But let's cut through the noise. He spoke for himself. King indeed was clear in his defense of the Jewish homeland, but in addition to those oft-quoted positions, I found a transcript from a rare 1967 TV interview where this nuance and understanding of the complexity of the crisis was on full display. So this is from Mother Jones. This is from Garrison Hayes. And let's watch his video.
MLK embraced Israel. Does BLM embrace Hamas?
Israel has the right to exist.
MLK would be turning over in his grave right now. I wonder what MLK would think. Okay, let's talk about it. It's the summer of 1967, and Martin Luther King Jr. is scheduled to take thousands of African Americans, Black people, to Israel for a tour of the Holy Land. But something catastrophic happens that complicates the entire plan. People love to use MLK to fit whatever agenda they have at the moment. But we don't have to guess where he stands. He speaks for himself. I have the transcript from an interview that MLK did on national TV in 1967 that rarely gets talked about. But first, some context. This trip to Israel was going to be huge. Records indicate that he planned to preach a sermon from the Mount of Olives, the place where Jesus ascended into heaven. He plans to pray with thousands of people at the region's holy sites in Jerusalem and Galilee. This was going to be his Moses moment, taking Black people to the promised land. But the problem is that just a few weeks before, Israel launched a preemptive attack against the pro-Palestine alliance of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, starting what became known as the Six-Day War, which killed around 800 Israelis and about 18,000 Arabs in less than a week. It also fundamentally changed the map. Israel expanded its borders, gaining about 4 times the land it had before, capturing Jerusalem and establishing military occupation in the Gaza Strip. Even though the war was over in just 6 days, MLK will cancel his trip, and this war will mark a turning point in King's nuanced position on Israel. Here's the statement. The interviewer asks MLK, should Israel, in your opinion, give back the land she has taken in conflict? And here's part of MLK's response. I think for the ultimate peace and security of the situation, it will probably be necessary for Israel to give up this conquered territory, because to hold on to it will only exacerbate the tensions and deepen the bitterness of the Arabs. This moment offers profound insight into what King believed was necessary to achieve peace between Israel and Palestine. King's name and legacy are thrown around carelessly to justify all kinds of things, but in this instance, we don't have to guess what he thought.
Excellent point. We don't have to guess what he thought at all. And I know it's MLK Day, but let's talk about what Malcolm X said, because these two men actually started to agree towards the end of Malcolm X's life. Malcolm X actually started to see when Malcolm X visited Mecca. If you read his biography, what's autobiography, that he started to see that him and Dr. King could actually agree on some stuff. But this is Malcolm X's view on Palestine.
Palestinian struggle is not just a cry for justice. It's a blistering battle for the most fundamental human rights that every living soul on this planet should inherit by birthright. It's an unyielding resistance against the oppressive, suffocating grip of occupation and the callous denial of the most basic human dignity. Just as the civil rights movement in the United States fought against the chains of racial discrimination, so too do the Palestinian people strive to shatter the chains of occupation and tyranny. Never forget, my friends, that the Palestinians, much like African Americans in the United States, have been subjected to a heart-wrenching history of suffering and torment. The birth of Israel in 1948 brought forth the mass expulsion and dispossession of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their ancestral homes and land. This is a historic injustice that continues to haunt the lives of Palestinians to this very day. The situation in Palestine serves as a brutal reminder of the consequences of colonialism and the ruthless dispossession of indigenous peoples. It is an agonizing reminder that the fight for justice knows no borders, and we must stand united in solidarity with all oppressed peoples, whether they reside in the United States, South Africa, or anywhere around the world. Let's be unequivocally clear. Advocating for the rights of the Palestinian people is not synonymous with denying the rights and security of the Jewish people. The fight for justice in Palestine is not an assault on any particular group, but an unwavering stand against the policies of a Zionist state that has for far too long stripped Palestinians of their rights. We must remember that numerous Jewish voices also resound in the calls for justice and peace in Palestine, and their voices must not be silenced. In our relentless pursuit of justice for the Palestinian people, we must also acknowledge that it is in the best interest of the entire world to seek a just and enduring solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It is a pursuit in the name of peace, stability, and the dignity of all mankind. But let me underscore this. The battle for justice in Palestine is not merely a political struggle, it's an elemental moral battle. It's the fight for the most basic human rights of a people who have suffered these injustices for far too long. It's the fight for the right to exist in peace and security, free from the ceaseless specter of violence and dispossession. If you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. I implore every person of conscience, regardless of their origins or beliefs, to stand steadfast with the Palestinian people in their unwavering quest for justice by any means necessary. Let us unite in building a world where every soul can live in freedom and dignity, where the rights of every individual are not just respected, but celebrated. The struggle for justice in Palestine is a universal fight, a resonating echo of the battles waged by oppressed people across the globe. It's a battle we must champion, a torch we must carry, and a legacy we must honor. Thank you, and free Palestine.
I'm going to give you my number one tip to get over a breakup, and that is going to be going to therapy. Going to therapy helped me so.
There it is. That's what MLK said. That's what Malcolm X said. Not really more for me to say. Happy MLK Day. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, and shave your knuckles for justice.